The number one way to realize that it's not this like super scary thing that you read about. It just helps you get more done and you're like, oh, this is great. People ask, what should I do about AI? How should I think about it? And my answer is always just use it. Of course, I think everybody should try ChatGPT. I now have this like incredible new thing that can be part of my life and help me get things done and help me like automate a bunch of the like boring work that I have. Also, given the rate that the technology is improving, if you don't start using it now, it's going to be even harder to sort of catch on to it. And if you believe that AI is going to be a big part of our lives, that's not a train you want to miss. So, that's the number one thing. Just start using it. But then, we think a lot, especially as you get towards agents and other things, we think a lot about making sure that the user is in control. So you don't want as you're getting to use ChatGPT or any other AI, you don't want it to go off and do a bunch of things for you without you, feeling in control. And so it's one thing if it's like answering a question for you, reading some docs and summarizing them, things like that. But as we're in this transition from ChatGPT being a thing that answers questions to a product that actually goes and does tasks for you in the real world, you should be in control of any actions that it takes. And over time, as the models get better and you begin to trust them more, then sure, you can give it, sort of more leash and trust it to take more actions autonomously. But you should control that every step of the way. And I think that's one of the most important ways that we're looking to build trust.
I mean, there's a lot that will change as you move to more and more of these agent-based workflows and the models be able to use tools. And I guess we have to co-evolve. Definitely we should look into those questions. I'm just curious about your own experience. A lot of us have these oh shit moments when we use LLMs, right? There's something sublime that happens, or there's 2 years of your work that gets returned in 5 seconds. What was your most recent oh shit moment using your own products?
This one's a little bit more, I don't know, pragmatic, but it was a really meaningful thing for me. One of our sons had a minor surgery. It was one of those things where all odds were that it wasn't going to be a big deal, but there's a small chance that it was a really bad thing. And so they do the surgery and like they take the thing and they go biopsy it, and you're waiting to hear back. And as a parent, you're nervous, even though you know logically that the odds that it's anything bad are really small. And at some point, we got a letter in the mail with a bunch of, doctorese on it that looked pretty intimidating, frankly. There were a bunch of words I didn't understand and that characterizing what this thing was. And it didn't say like, you should worry about this or you should not worry about this. It just like characterized it and then, finished. And I couldn't get a hold of the doctor. She was in surgery or something. And so there I was like, oh my God, what does this mean? And so I took a picture of it. I put it in ChatGPT and I said like, should I be worried? And I said like, can you explain this to me like I'm 5? And Chat did it and it was like, no, this is totally fine. Everything, like nothing to worry about. And I actually ended up not being able to get a hold of the doctor for 72 hours because she was just super busy. And that 72 hours would have been a terrible 72 hours for me as a parent if I was just sitting there brooding. And ChatGPT was able to answer. And that's us with like access to great healthcare. You think about the impact of this all over the world where people don't have the same access. It's really powerful. And I think that's sort of an underappreciated part of ChatGPT.
That is a wonderful story, and I'm glad that your son is healthy and comes out of that well. I'm really curious about what are the surprising behaviors that you've seen emerge around ChatGPT from your users. Sam has sort of talked a little bit about generational differences, but give us a flavor of things that you've learned about behavior that are just really hard for product teams to research or figure out.
Well, I do think, Sam has talked about the way that, like I said, the people today, I think a lot of people are sort of sprinkling AI onto their existing workflows. And it's young people that are, they're sort of, this is native to them in a way that it's not native to, those of us who grew up without AI. And my kids they're like, of course you can talk to a super powerful AI that can customize itself and answer any question you have. And kids that are graduating college these days as like engineers, are like they don't know any other way to write code than using, AI editors like Cursor and Windsurf. And it's just completely natural to them. And so it gives them superpowers in a way. And it's one of the reasons that we look a lot at how our youngest users, our young users, late teens, college users, things like that are using the product because it teaches us a bunch.
Can you characterize those differences though? So what is it like if you're in your early 20s, you're using ChatGPT? How does it feel different to somebody who might be in their mid 30s or early 40s?
There's sort of an always on nature. You realize that you have this super assistant in your pocket that can not just answer any question, but it can teach you anything that you want to learn. And so when you go about life that way, the rest of us are like trying to remember, trying to think about the processes that we go through and how we can reimagine them. If you're younger, you might not have had those processes, and so you built them from the ground up with AI. And so it's just a core part of the way you operate your life. And in some ways, they're ahead, and the rest of us are catching up.